Hello, I'm Nick Murphy, manager of the Forest School provision for the Outdoors Group, and I'm here today to welcome Tom, Lowday and Shevek Pring into my cabin in the woods to chat to them in reflection of 10 years of the Outdoors Group. So chaps, I've been with you for 8 years in the Outdoors Group. Tell us about the beginning of the journey, how you two and Chris White embarked on your project that's become the Outdoors Group.
Wow. I mean, that goes back a long way. Me and Shev have been friends since secondary school, so we've been good friends since then. Then we lost touch really for a few years, and
went
then
to different colleges,
different unis, moved away, came back again, and then we found ourselves both living in Exeter, and we bumped into each other.
Yeah, completely randomly.
Started talking about what we're up to, what we were hoping to do. I was studying environmental education at the time. Shev, I think you just got your first job in a school.
Yeah, just started at St James. So.
And we both, from that conversation, understood that we had real passion for learning outdoors and all the benefits that brought the young learners that we were working with at the time. And so we carried on that conversation. In the pub, in true in true fashion, when these ideas and what have you were born, and we decided to set up a little project called Woodland Life.
Yeah, which started out with us cycling around Exeter, picking up rusty old tools from the recycling centres. Yeah. I had a lock-up box in my back garden in Heavytree at the time.
I had a tool chest under my bed because I only lived in a flat.
I started the whole thing with about 35 quid, I think.
Yeah, rusty junk.
And was that following any sort of forest school approach at that point?
I'd been introduced to the concept at uni,
right.
Through the environmental education studies that I was doing, and other kind of projects as well for the outdoor based learning, and we were both really passionate about bushcraft.
Yeah, for me, I'd done a lot of experimental archaeology at uni, so kind of looking at casting Bronze Age axe heads in pit forges and stuff like that, but I hadn't heard of forest school at that point.
Okay.
It was Tom who introduced me to that.
Yeah.
And so tell me about how Chris came in.
So we started the project Woodland Life, and then I went off travelling. Shev went and had started a family and that kind of stuff, and so we sort of parted ways for a year or so, and then when I came back to the UK after a while, I started working at an organic farm where I met Chris.
Right.
And he said that he was interested in doing his forest school leader training, so we were like, brilliant, let's do that together. So I did the training with Escort Education at the time, and me and Chris got our qualifications, and then the farm we were working on, we asked the farmer there, Mr. Bragg,
right,
if we could rent some of his woodland, and it was around that time that I introduced Shev and Chris together, and we decided to make a forest school project together.
Yeah.
What was the dynamic between you three then? Who took on what roles?
Well, so I was working full time in college at the time, so it was more I did all the kind of back end, kind of businessy bit, and the paperwork.
And Tom and Chris. Did they?
Pretty much. But I was working with the Prince's Trust project,
right,
so part of that is to do kind of community projects and getting the my students to kind of build things and help out in the community. So they would come along and kind of help develop the site. We'd put in the first walkways over the swampy bits and put up a parachute shelter and a fire pit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Chris took a massive lead on the advertising and getting stuff up and running. He made a big buzz around the whole thing. He had some good ideas about how to launch the project and what have you. So we collaborated with the farm and did a big open day once we were ready.
That's where I first met you, Shev,
yes,
and some other members of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had a big open day at the farm.
Yeah, and the woods was, if I remember rightly, about 80% bramble.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, with these funny little paths running through to little areas we'd kind of developed.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the early days of what was Exeter Forest School at the time, have you any like favourite memories of that time when it was a sort of small, quite a small operation, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of really happy memories around that time. It's always really exciting when you're at the pioneering stage of a project. But I think we had a group of girls from Torquay, teenage girls, and we did an overnight camp with them, and it was in that camp where we just did like loads of like night games and like playing different really fun activities around the woods and doing like fire lighting and carving and everything, and they were having such a good time. And then by the evening, once we'd kind of settled down around the campfire, they just started talking and opening up about their lives and all the difficulties they were facing. And
it was quite a phenomenal moment, wasn't it?
And it's just it was a moment like that just goes like, this really works, like all this play and larking about in the woods, if you look at it in one way, but it's made them feel confident enough in themselves to be able to open up and have some really thought-provoking reflections about their life and have the courage to share that with their peers. And
absolutely, it's amazing what getting away from all the pressures of the sort of run-of-the-mill day-to-day life, particularly for young teenagers that are, let's face it, they've got a lot on their plates. To be able to step away from that and have something that a sort of shared experience in a really neutral ground, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And kind of having the fire as the focus as well. I think it's so key to that.
It's a bit like when you have a conversation with a friend in a car or something, or you're both looking forward, so you don't necessarily have to have that awkward eye contact. You can like put your words, put your feelings into the fire. Yeah. And it's in that way kind of shared into the group, and it's a lot more easy to open up, I think, for some people in those kind of situations.
I remember a fond aspect of your early days of forest school, Tom, being the marshmallow monster.
Yeah.
Tell us about the marshmallow
I thought that
monster.
would come up at some point. Oh, okay. So we would do the birthday parties on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and just before the end, before it's time to cook the marshmallows, we'd run the birthday parties, me and Chris, and he would be like set up an activity with the kids, and I would go off into the cabin and find loads of old like army surplus like hats and jackets, like really old muddy horrible clothes, and I'd put all the marshmallows in, stuff them in my pockets, and then go and climb up a tree. And then while Chris was with the kids, I'd be like, and the kids would be like, what's that? They go, oh, it's the marshmallow monster. He's been in the cabin. He's nicked all the marshmallows. We need to go and get them. And so I'd be up this tree like making these like noises, and then. But there was this one time the kids like they picked up sticks and they started throwing sticks at me out the tree. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna get out of the tree. I'm gonna get down the tree, and they just kept hounding me. So I legged it around the woods. Got these kids chasing me.
Flinging marshmallows.
So I took the marshmallows out of my pockets. I think that would take them off my scent. But they had seen red by then. They didn't care about marshmallows. So I thought. Yeah, they did. So I thought, oh no, just go to ground. Like stopped and was like, no, it's all finished now. Just use my normal voice. And then they started jabbing with sticks. So I get up and run. So I thought, and they started chasing me again. So I go into the compost toilet, lock myself in there. I could see all the parents at the campfire just laughing at me. What's this idiot doing for a living? I was like, well, I'm in the toilet now. Like, lock the door. And then all of a sudden, I see these sticks coming up from under the toilet. I ended up just like, I had to call Chris away. So yeah, that was Marshmallow Monster. He didn't. Yeah, he was retired after that day. After like health and safety review, I didn't feel comfortable doing that again. But yeah, it's just doing bonkers stuff like that. You can just really there's no rule book about it. You can just go and have fun and just.
Yeah.
That's what people want. Like, the people want to go out and have fun in the woods. That's what we all want, really, isn't it? And just give people access and be permission to do it and just go out and
it's
just
also
have fun.
like the unexpected bits, isn't it? I can remember doing a briefing to a group of college kids who stood around in the woods, and out of nowhere, this headless rabbit just dropped into the middle of the where a buzzard.
Tom up a tree again.
No, it was a buzzard that dropped it in, but it literally landed in the middle of the group, and they were all just like, "What's going on here?" And it's a perfect opportunity to start talking about
Absolutely, yeah.
that kind of aspect of nature that they've never experienced before. But it's amazing what kind of crops up.
I seem to remember turning up on site at Shaneford one day to drag a deer carcass
Yeah,
out of the woods.
we had to get that blue rope around it
Yeah.
and drag it out.
Yeah, and where you threw it into the brambles, when the brambles died down that winter, the rope had caught on the branch of a tree, and it looked like someone had hung the deer skeleton out of the tree, some kind of I don't know, ritualistic thing or something. It was weird.
Take the responsibility for that.
So thank you for watching this chat with myself, Tom and Shev. We hope you've got a little bit of insight into the work that has gone into the building of the Outdoors Group. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel for other videos of interesting topics from our team, that'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. Goodbye.